We're back with Formula One again. I want to do a thorough analysis of Miami. With me to do that is Johnny. Mustafa is here too. My name is Afolabi. Welcome to the show.
Okay, in case people haven't gotten the memo, McLaren has caught up to Mercedes. In the last race, Mercedes in Japan, Mercedes was still king when it comes to high-speed cornering and deployment. But we saw that McLaren has started cutting the gap in their speed on the straight line to the point where they were faster than Ferrari now when they were behind both and getting closer in straight line speed. And actually, they do better on low-speed cornering, on slow corners than Mercedes, but not as good as Ferrari. So the point I'm going to make here is that McLaren has started to close the gap for two reasons. They started getting their software in sync by Japan, and they also started to get their balance set up more. And we know their balance is what helps them. And especially in high-speed corners where they were very slow, they were starting to get a lot more boost on the straightaway because they were harvesting during high-speed corners, especially S's, because they've somehow figured through their software and through their balance how to go all out without having to click on the corners, without having to slow down on the corners, go all out and use their kinetic energy rather than battery to harvest, which means they have more battery power coming on the straights. Now that in combination with having a Mercedes engine, which is very powerful, is going to be dangerous for Mercedes because McLaren has not brought. They started off with a basic car, but now they're bringing their major upgrade, which means they're going to max out their window for speed. So I'm going to argue that in this track here, Mercedes is still going to be ahead. They're still ahead because they're the kings of deployment, but McLaren is catching up with its deployment. And it's mapping, you have to use your software to map your power. They're catching up to Mercedes in that, so they've become more efficient with their algorithm and their software. And also with their upgrades that they're bringing now, they're going to have even more stability and aerodynamic efficiency than they've had before. And they're just going to keep closing the gap. Because we saw that in Japan, what's his name? Piastri came second and could have won. So that should have been a warning signal to Mercedes that there's trouble. Put your thing on mute, Afolabi, just in case it breaks. Okay, so let's look at this track. Just to get you guys started, I'm going to predict that qualifying is going to be between George Russell, Antonelli, and Piastri, maybe Norris. Those four are going to be fighting, and it's going to be very close. We can't predict, but let's start off with the red. The red is Sector 1. This is a sort of free-flowing, high-speed to mid-speed sector. Mercedes will master this sector because of their deployment. When they do their build-up in Sector 2, you do your build-up, they're going to have a big deployment advantage in this sector, much more than Ferrari and McLaren. But here's where I was talking about. McLaren now has improved their stability and their balance through high-speed corners. And even though I think they're going to be slightly behind Mercedes in Sector 1, by the time they get to Sector 2, McLaren would have harvested more energy because it's more efficient and balanced through Sector 1. So Mercedes will go faster through Sector 1, but McLaren is going to build up more energy and have a good boost in Sector 2. Mercedes probably still has the advantage. Sector 2 is a very straight. Well, actually, Sector 2, the first part of Sector 2 is a straight, which is fast, but Sector 2 is actually very slow because when you look at 11 to 12 to 13 to 14 to 15 to 16, that slows you down. And here's where Mercedes is going to lose time to McLaren in that area, because that area from 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 has curbs and requires a lot of traction and mechanical grip and balance, which McLaren is very good at. Ferrari is going to be very good in that area because Ferrari has the most mechanical grip. But Ferrari doesn't have as much balance as McLaren. So I'm going to say in Sector 2, especially that slow area, Ferrari and McLaren are about even. And Mercedes will build up a lot of speed. But when they get to that tight area, they're going to lose time. The final sector, that belongs to Mercedes because we know Mercedes has massive deployment and it's a straight sector. But once again, McLaren is harvesting better. McLaren's software has gotten a lot better in mapping out their strategy over a lap. So McLaren will still have a lot of speed. Now let's look at the final part, that chicane. That chicane there is going to be a bump for a lot of people. Number 17, not chicane, the hairpin. So on that hairpin, once again, you're going to see Ferrari and McLaren do well because those cars have more traction than Mercedes and do better in slow corners. But it may make a little bit of a difference, but not that much difference for Mercedes. So in summary, when you look at the red sector, Sector 1 belongs to Mercedes, followed by McLaren. Sector 2, which is a slow area, it's a mix of slow and fast. I'm going to give that to McLaren because they're going to harvest a lot coming into Sector 2. And because of that slow, bumpy area, that's going to be a hiccup for Mercedes. Sector 3 belongs to Mercedes, so it's going to be very close. I'm going to go on paper as predicting that in qualifying, Piastri is going to come first, Antonelli is going to come second, and Russell's going to come third. And I think that what's going to help McLaren is the fact that the advantage they may have is that even though Mercedes may have more power in deployment, it's getting less and less in relation to McLaren. Mercedes in relation to McLaren. And because of McLaren's balance and their harvesting, in Sector 1, they're going to harvest very well. And then in Sector 2, I think Sector 2 is where McLaren is going to not only win the race, but win the qualifying with Piastri because of that tight, sinewy area. I'm not mentioning Ferrari because Ferrari has grip and balance, but that's all they have grip and they have downforce, but they don't have their whole package the way that McLaren and Mercedes has. So I'm going to see this as a very, very close qualifying. And what I said for qualifying, Piastri first, what's his name, Antonelli second, third will be Russell, fourth will be Norris or Leclerc. One of those guys will come fourth or fifth. That's how the race is probably going to be. Watch out for Hamilton. Hamilton may come fifth in qualifying behind Leclerc, but Hamilton will have better race pace than Leclerc because Hamilton is a much smoother driver and takes care of his tires better. What are your thoughts, Afolabi? You can take off the screen here.
Okay. So basically, I quite agree with you. Basically, the qualifying, I see Piastri's more smoother style here coming to the fore. And the reasons are not far-fetched. If you look at the Sector 1, if you look at the way Piastri drives, he's very, very smooth. Basically, he prefers a U shape. He carries more rolling speed through the apex. And if you look at this particular track, is more of a high-speed minimum speed. High-speed minimum speed is like a hybrid. High-speed medium speed is like a hybrid kind of setup. So basically, I feel Piastri, who prefers a U shape carrying more rolling speed through the apex, this will profit him, basically. And if you look at his smoother driving ability too, he tends to use less steering lock. This is going to save his tires basically around this.
I want to argue with you on one thing. Russell drives the same way too, though. Russell's smooth too.
Yeah.
So you have to give us the reason of why you think he would outdo Russell, though.
Yeah, so basically what I feel here is that Piastri, because of his ability here and the setup of the track, and also with the little of the technicalities that he showed us in Suzuka, the way this track is set up, the only area where I feel he could lose some time to Mercedes is where you have the long straights. I think his driving style will help him to maneuver better.
But what I'm saying though is that Russell does the same. So what I'm saying, Russell drives even better than Piastri, smoother and more economically. So what do you think is? So what we'll be saying is that the difference really is going to be the car, and I think the difference is those tight areas. Those tight areas. It's not that Russell can't drive well.
Areas. Yes.
The Mercedes car, especially on those corners, 11, 12, 13, 14, it gets twitchy and unstable and slow. So I think that's where the difference is. But Russell will have the advantage on deployment. Now between Russell and Antonelli, the reason I'm saying Antonelli is going to beat Russell is because Antonelli is more aggressive in slow speed corner areas and he takes in a higher speed. Russell and Antonelli are the opposite. Antonelli breaks late and aggressive. Russell's like Piastri. He likes a smooth build-up. But I'm just beginning to think that Antonelli's is becoming like Verstappen, in which he can take crazy amounts of inside speed. And even if he's not as smooth as Russell can't beat that advantage in raw pace that this guy has. Yes. What are your thoughts, Mr. Johnny? Yeah.
Yeah, I think to talk about to support what Piastri, I think Afolabi, you said Piastri would beat Russell, right? I think
Piastri will outqualify Antonelli and Russell. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
So
which is
I think
possible, but if he does, because of the car,
Afolabi,
drive. Go ahead.
Yeah, he gave all the good reasons, and I think to add to it is that talking about the cars now,
Yeah.
that so since McLaren has a shorter wheelbase and is more stable, so coming out of those corners will be an advantage more to McLaren than Mercedes. So that might just be where the McLaren where Piastri would beat Russell and
Coming out the corner, yeah. Yeah, and also I think that's going to be the main event. And here's what's funny, because where Mercedes is weak, Ferrari is strong. Ferrari is better than McLaren coming out of the corners because of their grip and power. But Ferrari doesn't have the other things. They're not good through corners. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like Mercedes is a little bit better than McLaren in top speed and deployment. But McLaren is better than Ferrari in top speed and deployment. Ferrari is better in grip and coming off of corners, but McLaren is better than Mercedes in grip and coming off of corners. You get my point. And another thing, where McLaren hasn't been focusing on grip this year, mechanical grip this year, because of the new regs change where mechanical grip and cornering is not as important as straights. So where they're getting their stability now is not through mechanical grip, it's through their ride height. They made some adjustments with their suspension so that they can ride low and go on curbs and not bounce. So once again, this is, you guys, I've been saying this as the gospel. McLaren, whenever they build a car, their number one focus with Rob Marshall is on suspension and balance. Suspension and balance first, not engine power, not downforce, not mechanical grip. Suspension and balance first. That's their platform. Sort of like Man City. Man City's platform, before they score goals, you have to have Rodri first to keep that area, and then you can spring from the platform. Same thing with McLaren. Their focus is always on suspension, and that will be important through any regulations. I don't care what the regulations are. If your suspension isn't good, it's just like an architect. You build a house, you don't have a good base. I don't care how fancy it is from on top of it. What are your thoughts of? Yeah, but that would go into your point. Johnny. So McLaren has better coming off of the corners, and also coming into slow corners. McLaren will have an advantage over slow corners with curbs. We know Mercedes has never been good on curbs. They've never been good on curbs. And those Miami, that slow cornering in 11, 12, 13, 14, is not only is it tight and slow, it has a bunch of curbs. McLaren is going to make up a lot of time on Mercedes there, and they'll be even with Ferrari. What are your thoughts, Johnny? Mr. Falabi.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, their foundation is always the suspension. And we can see here that on circuits that require high speed flow, a lot of kinetic harvesting like Suzuka, for example, Sector 1, it naturally plays to the strength of the McLaren car. If you are talking about their ride quality and suspension compliance, I think they talked about this anti-dive or heave damper upgrades that they're bringing to Miami. This will allow the car to absorb the curbs without losing on the floor aeroseal. They will be able to unlock a lot of lap time here as a result of this new upgrade. And then I feel this also helped them to adjust to any mid-corner understeer, especially in turn 11 and turn 17. Yeah. And I think they made some front suspension geometry upgrades as well, which helps their rotation, because some of turns is about rotation. And that's why I was particularly talking about Piastri's driving style, the U thing. This is going to help them along with the, upgrades to navigate those places better. And they will save precious lap time in these areas. And you have a lot of them in this Miami circuit, basically.
And very quickly, just to go through the main upgrades they did. They have a body wrapping, especially at the back of the car where the narrower wheelbase tires are, which is going to bring some downwash onto the tires to help keep them stable and help for cooling. But that car is already stable. So what it's doing is maximizing the stability and keeping them, and also giving them more neutral downforce, passive downforce on high speed corners. So they're going to have 2 to 3 tenths of a second faster here. And they were already on the tail. Piastri was already on the tail of Antonelli, and Piastri was beating Russell in Japan. Look for more of the same in Miami. The beer almost caught me. The ganja almost made me forget Miami. All right, so let's do our quick predictions. Qualifying, like I said, it's going to be very close, but I'm going to say Piastri, Antonelli, Russell, Norris, and Leclerc. That's top 5. And then Hamilton, 6. Race, Well, let's look at the race. Ferrari doesn't stand a chance in the race because they don't have the software to map out over and over. This race is going to be strategic, very strategic, but I'm still going to predict top 3 podium. Piastri and Antonelli, then Russell. But once again, very close. It could be in any order. But that's just my prediction. And I think that the McLaren car, with its super upgrades now, is actually faster than Mercedes, but I might be proven wrong. But even if it's faster than Mercedes, it's going to be because of its overall balance and its suspension and everything, because Mercedes will still have more raw pace than McLaren. But I think McLaren, due to its ride quality, will have better race pace. What are your thoughts, Johnny? Your predictions?
My predictions qualifying, I would say Antonelli, Russell, Piastri, and Norris. Okay.
Any rationale? Very quick. I know we're not going to get into details, but just what's your basic?
I still think that Mercedes have that power. They still got that power that they can to really come.
I agree. But McLaren is catching up, man. All right, what are your thoughts?
I would say when it comes to when it comes to the race, when it comes to down to the race, especially with all those points. I think McLaren would come on top, because I just think in the race,
it's going to be close. But I do believe that as the season goes on, McLaren is going to surpass Mercedes. But not to talk bad about Mercedes. Mercedes came in with their full package from the go. McLaren stayed back because McLaren said they came in with what I would call their guinea pig car, their your bland generic car, without coming up with a concept, because they wanted to wait and see what the data said. What are your thoughts, Afolabi? Your predictions?
Yeah, I think Mercedes' dominance will be challenged here. First of all, I think I would give Piastri a pull here. If all what I read from the package, if it delivers as was intended, I expect them to have the best balance, high-speed flow, and improved deployment. Their deployment here, I feel, is going to improve significantly because there's a trajectory they're trying to achieve. So I think Piastri first, and then Antonelli second. Then between Russell and Norris, you can toss a coin. Either of them, that's what I feel. I think McLaren's trajectory will continue to improve in Miami, especially with this package. If it delivers as they intended it to, I think in this particular qualifying, Piastri will take pole.
Yeah. Watch out for the madman, though, Leclerc. Madman. That guy was just...
Yeah. Watch out for that. You're right about that.
I do think that the Ferraris would create definitely entertainment in between.
They're
going to bring out, because they'll be faster at the corners.
More like chaos. More like chaos.
Yes.
They're going to start first in the race, and they'll start first, and they're like, these bad boys. But they'll die out.
They're going to come out first, and then they'll tip their entertainment.
If this was ground effect there, Ferrari would be the fastest team. If it was ground effects there. All right, so this was a fun show. I don't know how we got through that shit, man. You're watching F1 technical now. Shout out to Roman, who's the technical kid from back in the day. Let me stop. I'm about to take us out of here, man.
It's been another brilliant Formula One show. We've been previewing the Miami Grand Prix, and from Johnny, Mustafa, and myself, we'll be back again.
All right, Johnny, I'll give you ideas for thumbnail, but for tomorrow, not for today. Okay, thanks.
All right. Cool. Yep.